Alright, so in this video we're going to be creating physics simulation for the code on this character here. The character is actually a Genesis 8 female from DAS. So here's the character, and all the accessories and clothing were added here in DAS, and I simply just exported to Blender. And then I rigged the figure using the rigging buttons here in the Rig-GNS tab. So I'm going to be using Simuquick here to create the physics simulation. So the first thing I like to do after importing and rigging the character in Blender is to kind of just work on the mesh a little. So for the figure here, there are part of the figure's meshes that are hidden under the clothes, and I usually prefer to have them masked. So I'll select that and then go to edit mode. I'll press 3 for side view and then wireframe mode. Let's quickly change this to select lasso. Okay, now I'll select some part of the chest here and include the entire head and select that. So now returning to global view, I'm going to come over to the Vertex properties here, and I'm going to create a new Vertex group, and I will name this to mask. And now I'm going to assign the selection. So now I'll do the same thing for the hand. Go to local view. Okay, the selection did not loop around, so I'll select this other loop and hide that, and then press L to select the entire hand here, and then click assign. And for the other hand, I'll select a loop around the wrist, then H to hide, press L to select linked, and then assign. Now I'll press Alt H to unhide the hidden vertices. Go back to global view, and I'm going to also add the vertices around the leg to the mask group. So I'll select the region around here, and probably deselect this part. That looks okay. Now I'll go ahead and click assign. I'll go back to object mode, and here in the modifiers panel, I'm gonna add a modifier under generate, select mask, and here in the vertex group, I'm gonna search mask and select that. So you can see the rest of the mesh is hidden except for the part we want to be visible. Alright, let's quickly also do the same thing for the shirt. I'll switch to edit mode. The topology kind of looks off, so I'll go to sculpt mode, enable the x-axis mirror, and then press S for the smooth brush, and probably reduce the influence a little. Alright, so now I'll just quickly smooth out some of the bumpy areas on the surface of the shirt. Alright, so going back to edit mode now and returning to global view, I'll double click the middle of the shirt to have the center loop, then hold down Ctrl and the plus on the numpad to expand the selection. I think this looks okay. So let's go to the Vertex properties and click the add button here, rename this to mask, and of course click assign. I'll come over here and again select a loop around the neck, increase the selection. I think that might be too much, so let's reduce one loop. So I'll go ahead and click assign. Let's look at the selection we have by clicking select here. I think I missed some vertices, so I'll quickly select those vertices and also do the same on the other side. Let's go to local view. I'll include some of the vertices here and also include the vertices around here and also assign those. So let's switch back to object mode, return to global view. Again, go to the modifiers panel, add modifier, under generate, select mask, and change the vertex group to mask. Select that. So now you can see we only have the front part of the shirt visible. Alright, so the next thing is I'll select the code, go to sculpt mode, and I'm going to start smoothing most of the rough parts of this code. So let's quickly do that in time lapse. Alright, so here I'll press I for the inflate brush and fix some of the poking on the coat. And here I'll just continue to smooth the surface with the smooth brush. Alright, I think we're done preparing the meshes. The character looks better now. So now I'll just go to object mode. So the next thing now is to bring in an animation. So I'm just going to go to the Rig-GNS panel, expand Animixer, import motion, and choose FBX motion. I'm using a Mixamo animation. Here I'm going to search for run and then select this fast run animation. Okay, so let's play that and click the bind button to retarget it to the figure. Alright, so now you can see how the coat is deforming, not as it should. One final thing I'll do before we start looking at Simuquick is to make adjustments to the animation. I will first bake the animation with this big button and then OK. Now with the animation baked, I'm going to make adjustments to the animation, so I'll expand the adjustments tab, and here in the bones option I'll choose shoulder. You can see the shoulder is angled downward, so I'll click tilt to raise that back up. Okay, so let's play the animation. The hand is kind of brushing against the coat as it swings, and that could cause issues later when we add the simulation. So I'll fix that by going to the adjustments tab and select arm upper and then tilt it outward. Okay, this looks fine. Let's also look at the animation from the side. Here you can see the character is slightly below the floor level, so I'll use the position button, lock on Z-axis, and lift him slightly up until the feet sits on the floor. Alright, so let's preview the animation. Okay, it looks fine. So now we can just go to the actions tab here, unassign the animation, and then reset the rig. And now finally we can open up the Simuquick panel. So now without wasting too much time, I'm just going to select this coat and then go to edit mode. So when we previewed the animation earlier, we saw that this upper part of the coat deformed okay, and the lower part is the area we want to simulate, so I'll separate it from the upper section. This helps prevent the simulation from affecting parts of the mesh that should remain rigid. Alright, so what I'll do now is find a loop, maybe this one, where I'll separate the upper from the lower part by pressing V to split. So now when I press L on the lower part, you should see all link vertices selected. Again, press L on the upper part. Now I'll separate that by pressing P and then choose by selection. So now we have just this lower part. We're going to join them back together after the simulation, but for now let's start marking our edges. Alright, so I like to start somewhere around the front of the coat, so I'm gonna click the mark edges button. Always try to mirror what you do on one side on the other side, so I'll select these points and also click mark edges. Alright, so with those marked, I'm going to find their midpoint, which is going to be at the back here, so I'll double click to select that loop and then mark edges. Now I'll try to find a midpoint between the one at the back here and this one in front, so just a rough position somewhere around here. Okay, this will not work. We need a loop that runs from top to bottom. Alright, this will work, so I'll click mark edges. Alright, so now I'll mirror that on this other side. Alright, click mark edges. Now I'll find another loop between these two mark edges and click mark. So you get the whole idea. So I'm just going to continue marking, and I'm going to speed up the video to make things a bit faster. Alright, so these are all the markings I will need for this code, which will serve as a guide for the simulation bones. Now after making the markings, I like to save the file. That way if the result is not what I want, or if something goes wrong, I can always return to the file where the markings were already done. Now we can go ahead and click the create bones button. I'll leave this type set to collision mesh. I'll also leave the bone count at 7. And for the parent bone, I will probably change it from abdomen upper to chest lower. And for the chain direction, I'll leave it set to downward since we want the bones to run from the chest down towards the lower part of the coat. and now click OK. Alright, so now you can see we have the simulation bones, and when we press play, you will notice the bones moving. Alright, so now let's quickly assign the animation we imported earlier. So I'm going to go to the Rig-GNS panel and under actions, assign that, and then press play. What is happening here is the simulation does not have enough frames to settle on the character before the run animation starts. So to fix that, I'll split the screen and change the bottom one here to the non-linear animation. So we have an action already assigned right here, so I'll click the push down button here, and then I'm going to move the strip forward to about frame 15. I'll click this match frame button to have the frame range match the animation, then return to the first frame, go to pose mode, and then click this to reset the pose. So now I'm going to create a keyframe for this default pose. So let's quickly collapse these and open the Simuquick panel. Let me quickly pin this tab so we always have it available even when we return to the Rig-GNS tab. So here you can see we still have the Simuquick tab. Alright, so now I'll just click this eye icon to hide all the simulation bones, then press A to select all the bones, and then press I to insert a keyframe. Now down here in the NLE, you will see we have a new action. I'll click the push down button to have it as a strip. So here we have the default pose, and going forward we have the run animation. So let's select the strip and then increase the blend in. I'll just set it to 5. So now when it comes from the default pose, it gradually blends in into the running animation. Let's move this strip closer to the default pose and place it there, and then preview the animation. The running animation is just too short to fully preview the simulation, so let's make it a bit longer to around frame 250, around here. So next I'll just let's collapse the active strip and then expand the action clip here, and here under repeat I'll just increase the value till the strip gets to around the cursor there, and I'll expand the Mixer tab and click the match frame button to have the frame range match the animation. Now let's return to the first frame, collapse this window, and then play the animation. So now you can see the deformation. It's still not perfect. There are things we could do to improve it. I like to start with the Vertex group influence here. Let's expand this. Now click the button, and down here where it says disable all, I'll check that box, and it disables all the Vertex groups that are competing with the simulation bones. You can uncheck any of the Vertex group you want to enable back. So now I'll just go ahead and click OK and play the animation. So now you can see it kind of looks better than what we initially had before the Vertex group influence was disabled. I'll quickly switch to objects mode and select the objects. One thing I can do is just play with the value here in the strength field and preview that. I think I'll just return this back to 10. I noticed the cloth is a bit rumpled, so I'm going to use this smooth weight option. This rumpled look is caused by the simulation bones, so let's reveal them by clicking on this button. Now select the rig, then go to pose mode. Now when I select one of the bone and move it, you can see it has weights on the mesh, so this is what caused the rumpled look. Let's quickly hide those bones again. Now to use this smooth option, you will need to enter the iteration value first. I will type 15 and then click apply. Now when I play the animation, you should see that it no longer has that rumpled look. We can always undo the operation if we need to set a different value. So here you can see we have that rumpled look, a sort of subtle ridges on the coat. So I'll just go ahead and click apply again with the iteration at 15. The animation already looks great. Let's look at it from the back and turn off the overlays. I'm really satisfied with this result. Okay, let me quickly enable the overlays. So now that we are satisfied with the result, to rejoin the lower coat with the upper coat, I'll select the upper coat first and then hold down Shift and select the lower coat, then press Ctrl J to join those two. So now we have a single object. Let's return to frame 1 where we have the neutral pose and then switch to edit mode. The meshes are still separate islands. So when we go back to object mode and let's play the animation, you can see even though we have them joined, we still have that separation. So return to frame 1, switch to edit mode. I'll zoom in on the borders of the island, then double click to select the loop around the border, press H to hide that, and then again double click the border here, and then now press Alt H to reveal the last hidden one, then press M for the merge option and select by distance. So it merged with this default merge distance. So I'll collapse that and then switch to object mode and now play the animation. So here you can see we have the upper and the lower part of the code merged together. So that brings us to the end of this lesson. If you found it useful, please leave a like, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe for more tutorials like this. Thank you for your time. I'll see you next time.